Hello everyone and welcome back. I hope you all are doing well. So that this particular video, which I would love you guys to watch, because when I watched that video, I was kind of surprised. This is Tinubu 1 year plus in office, and right now, Northerners, they are coming out to complain bitterly that they have been marginalized. Can you just imagine that? Like, if there is anyone that's supposed to come out to talk about marginalization in Nigeria, I think Northerners, they are not even close to talk about marginalization, because like these people, they always at the corridor of power. What happened during Buhari tenure? Why they didn't come out to complain? Like, why now? Just 1 year plus of Tinubu. You guys know that I'm not Tinubu fan at all. But the way Northerners are going about the whole thing, they're acting as if, really, they are the ones that own Nigeria. Like, they're supposed to own power, like, every day, every time. Why are they talking about marginalization? Is it within this 1 year, or they're talking about a Buhari turn as well? Because me, I don't get it, honestly. I don't get it. These people, they are so selfish. If there is anyone that's supposed to talk about marginalization in Nigeria, that's supposed to be the Igbos. Okay, look at the recent event that happened in Nigeria, where Nigeria government charged minors for treason. You guys know that everyone came out, lamented about that show of shame. Despite where those kids come from, nobody talk about the ethnicity or tribe. But look at Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. How many people have come out to talk about the injustice against Mazi Nnamdi Kanu as well as Igbos? Like, when people say that it is Igbos that even holding Nigeria, because when Igbos go, Nigeria is going down as well. And that is nothing but the truth, honestly. Let me just allow you guys so that you can watch and hear everything they said here, complaining about Tinubu government that they have been marginalized. One that shall never end. Just take a listen.
Now we're talking about value addition. I think that is the subject matter. Yeah. You know, productivity. The government, in its thinking, felt that this issue of tax, value-added tax, sharing formula should be based on derivation. It shouldn't be. Perhaps the idea is to also generate competition among the subnationals. If everyone, would have value that is adding to the national purse, then together they can be able to share these resources. But if one region, if you like, or one segment of the Nigerian society is productive and the other is just, consuming, so to speak, because even the argument put forward by the chairman of the Northern Governors Forum yesterday, it was alluding to that. Why should it be based on production and rather than consumption? Is there justification for continuously being a consumer region or consumer society rather than being productive?
There is no justification for that. It will have all it takes to be a producer region. If you take Agric, for example, we have all it takes to be a productive, but I don't want to call it a conspiracy, but it might look like a conspiracy.
From who now?
From the past government to date.
I'm trying to understand.
Yeah, you will understand what I mean. Why would we be productive when electricity itself is not stable in the north? I give an example. The substations. The whole north has 3 substations. What do they call this substation? Something? KVA something, sub 33 something. The whole north has only 3. Kano, Kaduna, and some other thing in one state. While Lagos alone has about 8. What basis? How do you compare that?
Was it was it done in isolation? Because Lagos is one of the states that had 6 states of the federation.
Yes.
Even though it has all the necessary, the potentials to grow. It's currently the 5th largest or the 6th largest economy in Africa.
Yes.
And then it's consolidating.
Yes.
So what stops other states perhaps from developing their own potentials?
They develop, and they are developing their potentials because they have leaders at state level with conscience. Buhari was in power. Before Buhari, Jonathan was in power. When even Buhari was in power, what did the northern governors do about electricity? The problem is there. And even at that, In 1999, when Obasanjo came, and he said he's tackling electricity, we'll be having a lot of generation, what happened? For the past 8 years, he stayed in government. Do we have stable? No. He probably left us with about 3,000 something to 4,000 megawatts. And we are still existing within that range. No more than 5,000 at present, I think. My brother, how do we tend to develop and be a productive region in the north when we don't think and initiate?
Okay, talking about strategic planning, because that's what, I mean, the result is what we are seeing today, for instance. If Lagos, just like he said, is having like 8 substations, power substations,
Yes.
powering the entire, state, especially the industrial hubs, because production, the level of manufacturing and the industrial base is largely has shifted rather, perhaps from the north to the south, which is obvious. Industries have collapsed in most of them. The industrial hubs in Kaduna, in Sharada, in Puntua, and the rest of them. Now, so what stopped, perhaps, at what level did the leadership in the north, now that those that are crying foul, that okay, the policy is done to, is skewed in favor of the south. Where were they when all of this was happening? And the industries were collapsing without paying much attention to it. And now, the conversation has come up around productivity, and they are now crying marginalization.
That is the seamy side I am talking about. That is the seamy side of the whole drama. It all boils down on our successive leaders in northern Nigeria neglected the developmental aspect of northern Nigeria. That we found ourselves today from productive region to consuming region. You understand? Supposing our leaders worked hand in hand or have been working hand in hand, and supposing our leaders have been consciously initiative, I use the word initiative in leadership, consciously. Supposing they have been so initiative, supposing they have been so conscious, supposing they have been so patriotic to the plight and growth of the region, this cry, this foul cry wouldn't have come now. I mentioned earlier, I pointed out earlier, that the developmental hope of Nigeria economically was the agriculture sector, which was majorly or 90% northern based, before the exploration or the discovery of crude. It was that money that was used for the exploration and development of the crude. But our successive leaders fell apart. They left development. They left the region at the mercy of the Talakawas. You understand? They consciously abandoned anything developmental. Now we are, instead of being productive, actively productive region, we are now consuming region. So whatever the policy that may come in terms of taxes, they have every reason to cry. Why? Because we are not producing. The agricultural, the bandit, the insurgency have not allowed the farmers to go to farm. I'm equally a farmer. I don't go to farm because of the insecurity inherent in the region. You understand? Then the manufacturing sector is no longer viable. So any tax that is imposed in the region will be observed to be skewed. But supposing we have been productive, we would not have considered it that way.
Okay.
And besides, every region, as far as this government is concerned, is marginalized economically.
How?
Of course, it's marginalized because the quantum of taxes collected from the citizen is not commensurate with what is given back to the citizen.
Some say that there is more attention on taxation rather
than human value.
Yeah, rather than creating an enabling environment
for businesses to thrive.
But let's look at the thinking. Let's get to understand the thinking of the administration. The government said the proposed tax bill presents substantial benefits that align with objectives and fiscal reform on the economic growth by enhancing taxpayer compliance, strengthening fiscal institutions, and fostering a more effective and transparent fiscal regime. We're talking about reforms here that would address some of the shortfalls. Then do you think this thinking, is in line beyond the sentiment being canvassed now?
Theoretically, it might be in theory, but physically, it's not.
Okay.
Look, what is the purpose of a tax? Is it not to enable government to have revenue, to support some infrastructures, and to run its government? That is the purpose. Yeah. But when you have multiple tax on people, especially in this present economy, that all indices have indicated, whether we like it or not, that we are in recession, my brother. Is it unemployment? Is it the inflation? Is it the insecurity? Or food? All indices and variables have indicated that we are in recession. But we continue to deceive ourselves that everything is well.
But there's already a projection that Nigeria's economy is growing around 2.3, there about 2.3 or 3.4 there about, which is also a good indicator that perhaps the policy, the reforms.
By who?
By the World Bank.
Look, I keep on saying that is the worst deception is self-deception, my brother. The worst deception is self-deception. Look, just few days ago, I was reading. By the first quarter of 2023, our fuel consumption per day is 60 million liters per day.
That's what they said.
But today, the statistic is our fuel consumption per day is 4 million to 4.5 million. Yeah. What are you saying? What is it insinuating? What is insinuating is we can no longer drive our cars. 4.5 million for crying out loud. People can no longer eat. We are talking of hunger. The population of hunger in Nigeria is 40 now. We are talking of 40% of the population can no longer eat.
More than that.
You understand? Can no longer eat. When you look at the inflation rate, it's 35 to 37% inflation rate. So what are you talking? Look. You see, the economy of nation is determined, buoyant, when you and I as citizens are doing well. It reflects on our daily life values, livelihood values.
But they are setting some of these things.
When our children can no longer go to school,
what?
20 million of our children can no longer go to school. When you ask why, because the economy is bad.
It's one of the reasons.
You understand?
It's one of the.
We don't have electricity to produce. Why? Because the economy is bad. You understand?
But here we are.
The gas is not there to fuel our own generator. Our manufacturing companies can no longer operate. They are now moving to Ghana.
But in the face of all of
Benin Republic here. So what are we talking?
But in the face of all of
we are
this,
deceiving ourselves.
we will still have also states that are thriving. Within the Nigerian state.
Lagos alone.
States that are
because Lagos have conspicuously, they have planned over time.
Okay, so what stops the governors from also planning?
That is the laxity we are pointing
There should be a development plan for. I understand Kaduna State has one and 2021, 2025 development.
Do they adhere to the developmental plan?
At some point, Kano was having what you call 10
The question now is, do they adhere to the developmental plan? When a governor wins election and another one comes, he abandons all the projects and picks his own project. This one will come and abandon that one project. We are littered with all uncompleted projects.
But why should the region, for instance, continue to drag others from moving forward? If states, within the federation are coming up with development plans that would take them to a certain level, I understand the Lagos development plan started in 2004 thereabout, and it was a plan that was sustained over time. And now the result is being seen. Industrial base has moved, because there is an enabling environment. Electricity, there's security, there is access to market, and so on and so forth. And here we are with governors only waiting, to argue that why should this, sharing formula be this way, or why should this sharing formula be addressed, or rather, change from what it used to be. It's more of what we get, the interest is about what comes to them rather than being productive to be able to contribute. Isn't that, an anomaly?
That is where the problem comes. If you take Lagos State, as you said, right from the initial beginning, 1999 today, they had a plan. And it is that plan they are working upon to date. The economic plan they have. The same thing after Tinubu, or whoever again, Fashola, whatever.
There's sustainability.
Sustainability.
It's more of institutionalized development plan. So it is not for one person.
No.
To work
look at the red rail, the blue. It is blue right economy. From Tinubu's side.
At the same time, the blue line,
yes,
is being launched elsewhere in Kano. People the central point of conversation was around this, Kannywood dramas and all of that. So how do you compete in this kind of environment?
That is why I told you the bottom line and the problem is until we tackle that, until we have somebody that will rise up or a leader that will come out of a state with conscience. The leaders now are selfish and greedy.
Is it, because if you said, it seems to be a generalized.
Yes.
Because there are some who are still being proactive in terms of coming up with plans that we talked about. Very few of them.
That is why we generalize. Specifically, when you generalize in terms of degree, one may be 20%, 30%. If you say I'm greedy, to what extent am I greedy? So generally not. The leaders are selfish and greedy, and they don't have the consciousness to serve the people. And even the people themselves are problems. We are not conscious about what to do and how to go about doing them in terms of our right.
But I think
the whole burden of northern problem lies 100% on our leaders.
Yes.
Because leadership is a concept from Allah, from our God the Creator. You understand? A leader is there to checkmate, to regulate, to evaluate, to monitor, to provide, to develop, to coin, to initiate. All these are qualities and functions of a leader.
But the leadership is also...
In leadership in northern Nigeria, what we are saying, particularly from 1990, there are kind of leaders without initiative. There are kind of leaders that are so lazy. There are kind of leaders that are so adamant, so docile, so rigid, so compromising. You understand?
But they are a product of the society. They came from the same society. In fact, they lead it.
They came from a better society and become a problem.
They are being elected by the people.
Yes,
these same people.
They came with the concept of good governance, but at the end of the day, deceived the population.
Because
you understand,
there are periodic elections, and that is the reason why we have elections to checkmate, or rather to bring in leaders who we think can add value to our societies. 4 years. There's a 4-year tenure for every administration, but you still find governments, being re-elected, and then the same set of people that you're talking, because it seems to be exonerating the followership. They bring in the leadership, they elect people, and then they also collect what they need to collect at the point of election to compromise. So is it? Some would say it takes two to tango.
No. Here, take it or leave it. When you look at even the electionary process or the electionary process that produces our leadership, there are many questions to be asked. Is it transparent? The answer is no. You vote. Majorly, the vote doesn't count. They know how they wangle and come into power. So in this circumstance, what do you say? What do we do? When you vote Mr. A, with that having in mind that Mr. A is good, at the end of the day, some factors are created, are concocted to block Mr. A from winning election, and some other factors are created to favor Mr. B. That is not good. In that circumstance, what do you do? So the process that produces the leadership in the context of Nigerian democratic system is not said to be healthy. And that is why you see multiple problems that are generated from politics to the economy that hampers growth and development in the nation.
And that is why perhaps groups like yours have the opportunity now to articulate some of this and approach the National Assembly, which is currently doing, a constitutional review to address some of these gaps you're talking about. But then, beyond the lamentations, it appears it has come to stay now. With the reforms going on in the country, emphasis is placed on productivity. Emphasis is placed on your ability to contribute, which many would say is the right thing to do, rather than allowing governments to remain, as he said, docile without thinking out of the box, to be able to come up with initiatives that would help them grow their economies and also contribute to the center. It is coming at a time, there's also a proposed bill at the National Assembly talking about, derivation formula. Amending the some sections of the Constitution to provide for 50% derivation. And again, the conversation is around resource control.
Resource control.
So it is now obvious that the northern governors, so to speak, would have to sit up and face this conversation squarely. How do you think they can, what do you think they need to do right now, beyond just lamenting, beyond just crying more than the bereaved?
I think I don't pray the bill scales through. Personally, I wouldn't pray it scales through because it has a serious detrimental effect to the North. Why? Because if you increase to 50% from 13, the argument the bill seeks to say is that yes, North now benefit because they have these mineral resources. But the question is it established? There's the oil producing area is the oil and the area is existing. Here it is not existing. It is not been established. So what do they benefit out of it? Nothing. We just have to be very careful. The government. But it's an eye opener. Even though the bill will not.
Well, the bill is. I think it has practical reading also. Okay, let me.
I think if you allow me, or if you ask my opinion, I will prefer this bill to be passed into law, so as to serve as a challenge to these our docile northern leaders. Take for example, these same governors of ours will travel abroad, collect loan, sign loan, without the due consent of the Attorney General of what? The Federation.
Is it a possibility?
That is obtainable.
This is something that has to go through.
That is obtainable. Now that when it becomes that, okay, you should produce, I should produce, so that when you bring, I bring, what you get at the end of the day is commensurate. If you bring less, then you get lesser. You understand? If it is done that way, then automatically northern governors will sit up. Now take example. In Taraba State, where I come from, the governor pronounced Executive Order 5 on mining. He banned mining for over 1 year. Mining activities.
Illegal mining, artisanal mining.
Mining, generally, whether it is legal or illegal, it is banned in Taraba. But
what's the wisdom behind that?
I'm coming to that point. But when you check side by side, is happening. Now the question here is that everybody should ask. The same state governor comes to Abuja every month to collect what? Federal allocation. And the question you should ask yourself, or the governor should ask themselves, is where is this federal allocation gotten from? The crude oil. The Mineral Exploitation, the Law of Mineral Exploitation Act, and that of the crude oil is exclusively a federal government, is under the purview of what? The federal government. The state government doesn't have to buy. What is supposed to be done for this state governor is, look, call those guys that are into the industry. I put to them that I am not satisfied with the way this business is conducted in my state. Review the act with the partners on ground. Allow the business to grow. Initiate a kind of state revenue generation.
So don't you think bills like this are meant to achieve some of these objectives? Because, you know, by the time...
Bills like these are meant to achieve some of these objectives.
Right. Okay, now creating the enabling environment. First, let's talk about the development plans, because there is nothing that will happen without development. The last time I checked, I don't know if there is any unified development plan for the entire northern region, for instance. Beyond the ones I saw at the state level, Kaduna, I think, has one. Just like I said, 2001, 2002, 2001 to 2005.
Developed their own.
Yes. So
5 months ago.
Where do you think is the place of this comprehensive development plan with a timeline to achieve certain objectives? Because the Lagos example we are making was not done out of the blues. It was a strategic planning with a clear roadmap of implementation and a timeline. And today, the state is where it is in terms of, you know, development and prosperity.
Look, that is why we say at the state level. If we take Kano State, for example, I don't think there's any development plan. And any developmental plan, if at all there is, should be a sustained one, not a government going and one coming in now abandoning it. For example, I want to say, Kano, there was a time when the past governor wants to do a rail system from Dawano down to inside Sabongari area. Train, railway train to convey goods. People started making noise. And he went for the loan. I don't know what the present government is doing about it now. This thing has to be sustainable. And each government at the state level have to have a developmental plan. That is the first thing they ought to do.
That is at the state level.
At the state level.
What about the region? At the regional
level?
At the
regional, there are things that interconnect the region, which the state governments have to sit down and talk about it.
Because we also have peculiarities in terms of the challenges. For instance, you're talking about insecurity.
Yes.
You know, it's an issue that affects all the states.
Of course.
If you're talking about what the governors, what the meeting talked about yesterday, for instance, out of school children, which was of concern to the Sultan, you know, he raised that fundamentally, that there's need to support the initiative of this out-of-school commission, the Almajiri Commission, and so on. So these are some of the things that...
What are the state government doing? Jonathan did the Almajiri schools. Is it sustainable today? Are they sustaining it in the state? Whose fault? Is it the federal government or the state government? They lack conscience.
Now a commission has been created, perhaps because it has become a national issue. You know, we're talking about over 20 million out-of-school children, and they've contributed to the current state we are in terms of the level of insecurity, you know, and all of that. So, how do you think? The governors can address some of these problems, because beyond just saying that, making the pronouncement that, okay, we're going to support the initiative. Muhyiddin has been talking about, you know, the political will and then making concerted efforts to implement.
the political will is number one, is the primary starting point. Yes, we can do this. Secondly, don't forget, Obasanjo in 1999, sequel to SDG, Declaration on Free and Compulsory Education. Free and compulsory education for the developing the third world nations.
The Sustainable Development Goal.
The Sustainable Development Goal. In adherence to that, he declared what? He introduced universal basic education and launched the universal basic education where? In Sokoto. The former President General Olusegun Obasanjo. When he launched that, the universal state basic education categorically stated that every school growing child, every child of school growing age must be enrolled.
Must have basic education.
Must acquire that basic education.
That is
free,
primary,
but not free, but compulsory. Irrespective of what? The tribe, ethnicity, religion, or economic background.
Certain states even made it a law. Like I remember Kaduna.
But the question here
is a law. You know, for parents, if you fail to take your child to
they
school,
charge you.
At least at that basic level,
they charge you.
You are
they
liable
prosecute
to.
You.
Yeah.
But now the question is, are these northern state governors implementing this universal basic education law policy? The answer is haphazardly done.
Look, if you take, I'll give you an example of the state, which is Kano State. I keep on saying Kano because I know a little bit about it. It is pronounced free education. But the question is it free? When you say it's free education, wallahi, go to the primary schools. Chalk.
It's not obtainable.
Paper to write. Tables are nothing.
Teachers are not there.
Where is the enrollment drive in the first place? Because parents, largely the deficit in terms of enrollment, many believe was out of the level of poverty, because a number of children cannot even go to school or stay in school because of the poverty level and all of that. And they came up with what they call school feeding program, primarily to encourage enrollment.
It was politicized.
Now, is it working? That is the question.
It's out of system.
That is why you have the reduction in
even when it was in function, we are the teachers. I'm an educationist from my grade 2 down to my PhD class. You understand? I taught. Then what are we saying? These schools, when you go to visit these schools, the teachers are not there. The infrastructure, teaching and learning material are not there. Some of these schools are only the head teachers that are obtainable. The supporting teachers are the community teachers recruited. Some of these community teachers are secondary school leavers, dropouts.
That is if you are lucky to have some.
If you are even lucky to have that.
Visited some schools.
But most of these talkings are political.
Okay.
But when you go down the ground, you see nothing obtainable.
Right. So how do you develop, a strategic roadmap, a conscious, deliberate development master plan to situate the region, in a better position to embrace or to face this current conversation around resource control, which is critically, and obviously coming to stay?
Yes, I think there is a way out, and this way out is. I heard something sometimes ago from the Minister of Solid Mineral. He suspended licenses with the solid mineral something. But what is the problem? The problem now is you probably from Kaduna State, you have been given license in one mining site in Kano. It's a problem. But what the ministry is trying to do is to harness the various mining licenses and know how many licenses do you have in a state, and how would the state government even come in? What are they going to get? Federal government issue licenses in my own state, which is my jurisdiction, my environment. What am I getting? That is the question now. they can do a lot if each and every state, since they have similar problems, have a very strategic plan on education. It's similar within this northern Nigeria. Have it on healthcare. Have it on civil service
reforms.
Because if you take a civil service, how would you, in a class of 200 to 300 in primary school, or 1,000 people, you have less than 10 to 15, 20, 30 teachers? Does it make sense?
Huge deficit, the manpower.
Does it make sense?
Yeah.
Besides that, the environment and the motivation must be there. Look, if they are serious at the state level, because they all have similar problems, let them sit and fashion out ways, strategic ways of coming out with developmental plans towards all these issues, including security. Security plan is not a big deal.
But some would say, for instance, there are northern groups who took their time to do research, came up with resolutions and strategies on how to address some of these problems. I understand the ACF at some point did that. They also submitted to the governors. But to look at, those recommendations is another challenge. Beyond that, now that the conversation is around, this restructuring, so to speak, and then this resource control issues, looking at the call, by the governors that the National Assembly should weigh in. The lawmakers should reject this bill because of its. Do you think is the right thing to do, the right approach, to, or rather engaging, the other regions on meaningful conversation around this?
I think I belong to a regional group called Rebuild Arewa Initiative for Development.
Even though some would say, where would you start the rebuilding?
Yeah,
looking at
the name
damage.
Rebuild Arewa was consciously chosen because of the numerous issues and problems inherent in northern Nigeria. To us, you cannot do anything in an environment that is volatile. That is why we worked on 3 issues. Peace, unity, then you talk of development. We are engaging our northern leaders and Nigerian leaders to ensure that peace found its way back in Nigeria, not only in northern Nigeria. Karl Marx, a philosopher Karl Marx, in 1880 defined peace as the most essential instrument mankind requires for survival. Peace is fundamental. If there is peace, farmers can go to farm. If there is peace,
so getting the basis right,
peace,
and then you build on that.
Build on peace. Then the northern leaders must have a one voice group where family we should be coming, we should have a blueprint, developmental blueprint for the region. One developmental blueprint. Adhere to that. Develop the agricultural sector. Explore our mineral sector. You understand? Provide education, because without education, nothing can be achieved.
Right. Okay. Building human capacity, which is critical. Let me get your last line because time is up. How do you think this issue can be resolved, or rather, what do you think need to be done beyond just asking the National Assembly members to reject the bill, or beyond coming out to say we reject the bill? What else do you think need to be done?
I think they should make a move, conscious move on their own, to see what they can do, even if it has to do with sitting down with Mr. President, the northern governors.
The bill is already before the National
Assembly. That is another problem. But I believe if our senators can
you have
do something,
leaders, you have representatives.
Yeah, they can do a lot. They can do a lot if each governor can call his senatorial and the House of Rep, tell them this is what we decided at the governor's forum. So this is our way forward. I think they can do a lot.
Right,
They
okay.
reject the bill.
So my people, that is it. I hope you guys had everything they said here. As you can see, Northerners, they are really not happy with Tinubu. And look at how Northerners are really against this tax bill. Like, I just want to ask, is it the only Northerners that tax reform is meant for? Why are they so angry about that particular bill? But that is by the way, like last, everyone go chop breakfast. Yeah, so just as everyone is saying that the breakup Nigeria will start from the north. And as you can see, everything that is going on right now, I don't know what is going to happen or how the Northerners going to manage this thing till 4 to 8 years. So, as I bring this update, I hope you truly enjoy watching. Please, if today is your first time, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. I will see you guys in my next one. Welcome to Shammer Seniors TV. Hey,